All right, let's do this. Welcome to Chasing Knockouts with me, Chase Watson. On today's episode, I'm going to try to make this one quick because it's late. I'm going to break down a couple of the fights from last week's fight card between Prochazka and Dom Reyes. I'm also going to go into a quick breakdown of all the fights coming up on this week of this Reyes versus Waterson fight card that finally got put together last night. It seems like we're gonna look at that. I'm also going to try to continue on making everybody money. Not in 2 weeks last week. Both fights that I lost were split decisions. And I had messages from people saying, hey, weren't the judges pretty shitty? And you know what? I kind of agree, but you can't win them all. But I think I should have probably won them all. But 9-2, made everybody money. Pretty happy about it. But basically, fight all around was pretty much an okay fight card. A lot of decisions. Basically, all decisions to the last two fights, which the last two fights kind of made up for everything that happened in this fight card. I'd like to also touch on a couple things before I hop into this main card right here. The biggest thing being the Luana Pierno fight versus Reyes Marcos, the illegal upkick situation. So, Reyes Marcos is talking all this shit right now, basically saying Pierno basically lost the fight, or made her lose the fight after the illegal upkick, kind of taking the Aljamain Sterling approach where she was acting and all this, that, and the other. So my problem with that is Marcos was getting destroyed the entire fucking fight. And then you kicked her in the fucking face. A heel to the face is going to hurt a lot of people. And my thing is this. If she was losing, I could kind of see what Marcos is saying. But Pierno was winning that entire fight. She was probably going to end up finishing Marcos. Marcos does not need to be in the UFC right now. She's not good enough. She's fought killers, do not get me wrong. I think she might get back eventually because the women's fight divisions and all that stuff are kind of shallow right now. They need to get better, and they are getting better, and it's so super exciting, especially this upcoming fight card this weekend. But Marcos is now below 500 on her record. Not very great. She can bang with lower people in the division, but what is the point of keeping that around, paying someone so much money? So I just want to touch on that Marcos is kind of talking shit about something that she really just needs to stop, because I know she lost and it's upsetting and everything like that. But I mean, I just don't see how she could sit there and say that she was going to win that fight after she was clearly losing, and that upkick, a heel to the face, is going to knock out anybody. That would have knocked me out, I'm sure. So I do see what she's saying with the fact that she did get carried out. I thought that was a little funny, but regardless, we don't know how bad that hurt. Paul Felder even took a step back after that, saying that he thought she was acting the entire time, and then he took a step back on that, so I really appreciate that. But hopping in on this main card real quick, I'm not going to spend too much time, because honestly, the first two fights I paid attention to, but not really, because they were two dominations. Merab Dvalishvili, complete domination. Took Cody Stamann down. Cody Stamann wanted to play Dvalishvili's game, and it just didn't work. Merab is legit. Merab is on a 6-fight win streak now, completely dominating the last 6 opponents. Looking at his rankings right now, Merab, I think he's not going to get that top 5 like he's 1 and 2. Jose Aldo is in that top 5 range, but fuck, give him Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar looks like he's kind of on the way out now, and give Merab that name. Frankie just got a vicious knockout, that flying knee by Sandhagen not too long ago, but I think give him that Frankie Edgar fight. Send Frankie Edgar out either with a huge win against Merab and maybe that confidence boost, or give Merab that name, which I think will ultimately get that win right there. Merab would win that. The only problem I see with this division right now is with Aljamain being the champion. Aljamain's even said it himself that he will never fight Merab. So he finds Merab to be the closest thing to a brother, is what he said, and I really respect that a lot. But if Merab gets to that point and Aljo still is the champion, if he does defeat Jan, which, in my humble opinion, I think he will, from what I've heard with Aljamain saying, where he barely ate that whole entire day, he gassed out super fast. So I do think Aljo beats Jan the second time. But when you see Merab storming up the ranks, it's just tough to see that fight not taking place. So we'll see for that in the future. So shout out to Merab for that win. Pretty easy W on that state. So next fight, Sean Strickland versus Krzysztof Joko. Same thing, complete domination, 30-27 across the board besides one judge, which I don't really see how he gave around the Joko, maybe the last round. But so Sean Strickland, just complete domination, masterclass of strikes, mix of everything. He's a sneaky contender in that middleweight. I don't think many people are paying attention to him, and he could be really good. And the fact that he had that big that big motorcycle wreck not too long ago, and then he came back. He's fought these great fighters. He's sneaky good, and he's going to get that top 10 to 7 range again, and I think he totally deserves that right there. Sean Strickland beat Brendan Allen, and that right there just says a lot to me because I'm very high on Brendan Allen in that scenario. Also, with him sitting at 11 currently, I'm looking through the rankings right now. The one fight I can see him maybe getting is maybe Uriah Hall. That's a step up for Strickland, and Uriah Hall just had that crazy fight against Weidman with Weidman breaking his leg. I don't know if they would give that fight to him because Uriah Hall is looking for a step up and he doesn't want to go back. But the only other ones I could see on this without any other fights on here is maybe a Darren Till when he's become healthy, or even a Jarrett Cannonier if he wants to step back. But who knows? Strickland's a sneaky contender in this division. I think he could be fighting for a title in the next 2 years, which would be really fucking sick because I think that complete story of him almost ending his career with the motorcycle wreck and then now on a huge fight win streak, that's fucking cool to me. The next fight right here, the Eden Kutalaba versus Justin Jacoby. The face off where Eden Kutalaba basically ragdolled him, took him behind his neck, got pushed off. I thought this was going to be a crazy fucking fight. I didn't think this was going to last the entire round. And I looked right at first. The first round, Kutalaba dropped him. And I thought that was an easy 10-8 score right there. I thought Kutalaba was most definitely going to finish him in the second round. But it looked like Kutalaba completely gassed out. And Dustin Jacoby took advantage of that. And that's pretty fucking cool. But then you look at these scorecards, 28-29, 29-28, and then a draw 28-28. I understand the draw 28-28 because Kutalaba did get a 10-8 round in the first round, in my opinion, then lost 10-9, 10-9 the last two. So do the math there. That's a 28-28 draw. But the judge that said Kutalaba lost 29-28, explain to me how you see it that way. Kutalaba, that was a clear 10-8 round, the first round when he dropped him. And then he comes back. Yes, he lost the last two, but at the very least, at the draw 28-28. And if they vote that a draw, it's a majority draw. And I just don't understand. I don't see how that's a split draw. I'll take a majority draw all day. Even a split decision type draw, win, whatever you want to call it for Kutalaba, but call it a draw and give one of the judges giving the win to Jacoby is fucking crazy to me. Fix the judging, UFC. You're better than this. And I know it's not the UFC. I know it's the state's commissions, but Jesus Christ, this is terrible. This entire fight cards was basically judged pretty poorly for the most part, the split decisions aside. So, just let's figure it out, guys. Because the judges, I like the idea of the judges being, someone that's had the fight experience, been in there with a couple amateur fights, just so they know the ins and outs of grappling positions, submissions where, you might be in trouble and might not be, but we got what we got, guys, and it kind of sucks right now. But skipping across all these kind of boring bang-out fights, for the most part, some of the fights were exciting. The last two fights, the co-main event, Gija Chikate versus Cub Swanson. The Gija kick completely knocked his ass out with a body kick, basically. Cub Swanson, I thought, was going to be his biggest test. And Gija's definitely on the cusp of making that run. He's older, so he's trying to get that title fight. He's calling for it, which is pretty fucking funny to me. He wants to fight Max, which I don't think Max is going to step down to that, but he's calling for every single fight possible. And you know what? He can fight really soon because this fight was 1 minute and 3 seconds long. And he made Cub Swanson someone I thought that was going to be his test, wrestle him around, see what he can handle. He hit him with one body kick to the liver, whatever you want to call it, and he went down. And that was super exciting. He'd blink and he missed it in that scenario. So, shout out to Gija. This dude's a fucking killer. Best striking in this division outside of Max Holloway. I'd say the best kickboxing ability because Max Holloway is a pure kickboxer, but I think Max Holloway is the best pure boxer in the division. But watch out for Chikiate. He could be a guy that might be fighting for a title soon too, guys. And I'm not trying to throw that around lightly. He fucking means business, and he's a damn good fighter. But the main event of the evening, Prochazka versus Dom Reyes. I fucking told y'all guys, I know Dom Reyes is a good guy of the UFC. Like the guy a lot, super fucking athletic, everything like that. But he has lost 3 straight now. I know he lost to the killers, John Jones, Jan Blachowicz, Jiri Prochazka now. But, like I said before, guys, and I'm sorry my dog's walking in the background again, but like I said before, guys, Dom Reyes got this title, his first title shot against John Jones, the first one, off of a knockout win against Chris Weidman, who was bloated at 205. Chris Weidman, he was in the best shape of his life at this 185 fight, he says, his last fight. But at 205, he had no business being there, and Dom Reyes showed him that. Dom Reyes is a damn good fighter. He's great, but he needs to recalibrate and figure out, kind of take a step back. He needs an easier fight at this point, because Jiri Prochazka put it on his ass the entire time, and Prochazka is probably going to get the next title shot, unless, UFC really wants to give him Rakic. But I think Rakic is worse than Reyes, in my opinion. Even though I say Reyes is overrated, I'm just saying Reyes is overrated in the sense of being a title contender right now. So Jiri Prochazka is the next big deal. I mean, yeah, it's a little sketchy with him having his hands below his waist the entire time striking. He did get rocked a couple times. But when you see Reyes get knocked out that brutal by a spinning elbow and land on his neck, it looks like he breaks his fucking neck. That's scary. And Jiri Prochazka, being so fucking young, a scary dude. And this entire weight division is basically old guys. So when you see Jiri Prochazka killing it right now, and he's got the next shot probably after a 43-year-old Glover Teixeira loses to a 38, 39-year-old Blachowicz, I believe. This is scary, because the thing is, Jiri's going to be there for a very long time. He's still learning. He said he's only been fighting for 12 years. So this dude is going to be around for a very long time, and I see a lot more crazy knockouts coming his way, especially with the fact that he knocked out Reyes with a spinning back elbow. A new contender for knockout of the year, maybe besides the Sandhagen knockout and the Usman knockout a couple weeks ago. But Jiri is the real deal, guys. Jiri showed he was the real deal with everybody picking Dom Reyes, riding Dom Reyes, saying, oh, he beat John Jones. But you know what, guys? He didn't. Rewatch the fight and tell me he beat John Jones, because he did not. So shout out to Jiri Prochazka. Complete domination. No disrespect to Dom Reyes. He just is not on that level of Jiri Prochazka. Just a quick matchmaking real quick for Dom Reyes. He dropped all the way to 5th now. Feed him maybe a Vulcan again, because that fight was so close. Or push him back farther. Give him a Ryan Spann and Johnny Walker. Someone maybe outside the top 10. Help out that little inside top 10. Maybe give him a name in Dom Reyes. But I think Dom Reyes wins that fight if he gets a top 10. I'm sorry, my dog just jumped off the couch and going crazy. So, like I said, shout out to Jiri Prochazka. Also, shout out to Jiri Prochazka for getting 2 $50,000 bonuses. Got fight of the night for his fight with Reyes, and then also got performance of the night with that crazy knockout. And also, Gija got that crazy knockout too with his Gija kick, he likes to call it. He also got performance of the night. So, all around, okay card. It's tough to follow up that last pay-per-view and all that stuff. So, can't be too angry about it, especially with the end of the night being so great. You look at this fight card, you thought it was going to be a slow-moving fight card like the Whitaker fight card was a couple weeks back, but the last 2 fights left you wanting more, and I definitely want more, and this weekend is no different.
Round 2, fight.
Okay, so gonna hop in real quick to the breakdown of this Saturday's fight night, Rodriguez versus Waterson. Unfortunately, this fight night was supposed to be fucking sick with Dillashaw and Sandhagen. Not saying this fight night's not as great, but it sucks that Dillashaw versus Sandhagen was scrapped for a little bit, with Dillashaw getting that nasty cut on his eyebrow from wrestling. Maybe trying to get off the EPO. I mean, the dude was on hard steroids before, obviously, in that 2-year layoff. So we'll see what happens. Doesn't matter. Sandhagen gets that W whenever that fight happens. But we're going to try to break down this fight card pretty fast, I'd say, just to get y'all out of here since it is later in the week. Longer fight card again. Hopefully, I mean I will, we're going to continue making everybody money, continue on this hot streak, just like last week. So let's hop right into it. First fight being Christian Aguilera versus Carlson Harris. So Christian Aguilera is welcoming in this newcomer, Carlson Harris, who's on a 3-fight win streak, and all 3 of those fights were finishes. He was trying to make a huge splash in this first fight, continue his winning ways, but Aguilera is in his way. Aguilera is 1-1 in the UFC with 1 win by TKO in the first round and 11 of his 14 wins by TKO. But the only problem I see with him is he is prone to getting finished as well, and he gets wild as shit in these fights. So I see this fight being a finish pretty soon in it. I think Harris is a natural opponent for Aguilera in this spot, and is a very well-rounded fighter with 8 of his 15 wins by finish and 4-4 being KO and submission. So that's pretty fucking impressive to me, and he also can drag these fights out late too. So I'm giving Harris the edge in this fight. So lock in Harris, Carlson Harris the newcomer in the UFC to beat Christian Aguilera. The next fight, which is Jun Young Park versus Tafon Nchukwi. So I'm just going to go with Tafon right now because I really don't want to keep pronouncing and mispronouncing Nchukwi. So Tafon is coming in as one of these scariest motherfuckers in this middleweight division. He had one of these scariest knockouts I've seen in a very long time on his Contender Series win. This dude, he head kicked this guy, I think it was in the second round, and the guy woke up throwing up everywhere. They didn't even show him. It was so brutal. And that right there, that's been cemented in my head ever since. And also, y'all know I really love these Contender Series guys. But with that brutality right there, a massive guy from 185, I see him being a huge problem for Jun Young Park. The problem is even with his decisions that he has won in Nchukwi, he looked a little tired. I think he gets his fix since it's been a little bit of time since then. But Jun Young Park is 2-1 in the UFC with his only loss coming to Anthony Hernandez, which is a fantastic fighter in his own right. Park has a whole hell of a lot more experience than Nchukwi by 11 fights, having 4 losses, which almost equals Tafon Nchukwi's total fights at 5-0. But I just can't get that Nchukwi knockout of the Contender Series out of my head where he knocked him out so badly. And he's just a scary motherfucker. He's a big dude, and I think he's going to be a great all-around fighter. He's super young in the game, still 5-0. And 4 of his wins were by brutality of knockouts. And I just think I can't see this going any other way. I might be picking with my heart a little bit, but I think Nchukwi swings for the fucking fences. He wins this fight by KO. I don't see this going any other way. It'd be tough for me to see Nchukwi drag out another decision win because he did look so tired. He's a bigger guy, so he's carrying a lot more muscle, taking a lot more oxygen in this 185 class. But I think Tafon Nchukwi gets this done, wins by knockout against Jun Young Park. Lock that in. Let's do this. So next fight is the flyweights. I love the fucking flyweights. They're so much fun to watch. 125ers, always exciting. So Ryan Benoit versus, another one, Zakir Adeshev. Ryan Benoit is coming into this fight with an up and down career in the UFC with some notable wins though. One of which being Sergio Pettis, which Sergio Pettis is now in Bellator as a 135er fighting in this Friday's fight card also. But the thing is with his career, he is 3-5 in the UFC. The only skewed side of this is the shallowness. What was shallowness? It's starting to be not anymore of the 125 division. Having some key losses to Tim Elliott, which is crazy good. Ben Nat Win and Brandon Moreno, which is a title contender in his own right. The one thing I love about Benoit is he's always out there looking for blood, trying to KO his opponents the entire time. He is a fun person to watch. At 10-7, he has some losses, but he's not afraid to get knocked out either. So his fights are always exciting. His 125ers are great. He's fighting Adeshev, which has not had good luck in the UFC. He's 0-2, being KO'd by Tyson Nam, which Tyson Nam is a damn good fighter and a big problem in that division. But the problem with Adeshev is I think his experience isn't there at all. And I know I'm kind of going back on what I said in Nchukwi last fight, but the problem with the 125ers is that they need that experience. And I think Adeshev being only 3-3 and losing his last fights here in the UFC, I just think he's not ready for the UFC yet. And I hate to say that about people because I just talking about their career, but at the same time, I think Adeshev he has the potential to be a UFC superstar. Do not get me wrong. But Ryan Benoit has been in there with the killers of the division. He knows what the fuck's going on. Adeshev is still young in this game. And I do not see Adeshev winning this fight right here. I think he goes back down to the regionals, builds himself back up, makes it back to the UFC, especially with the 125 division, needing those prospects. So let's give this fight right here to Ryan Benoit. So the next fight is Lodevev Klein versus Michael Trizano. Klein is coming in on a huge win streak of 8 straight. And one win that was super fucking impressive by KO by a head kick against Shane Young. Klein, which is rightfully so nicknamed Mr. Highlight, he has finished every single one of his fights except one measly fight. And he's doing it well-roundedly with 8 by KO, 8 by submission. I love these types of guys right here that can get it done by on the feet and on the ground. You never know what the fuck these guys are going to do. They're always an issue. They're always a problem. So I'm always going to lean to that side. But he is also fighting a damn good fighter with some great wins in Michael Trizano. Trizano has a win over Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross, which everybody knows I love that guy. That was by split decision. Could have went either way, but a win is a win. in this instance for Trizano. He has also lost to a great prospect in Grant Dawson by submission, which is where I'm going to come into this part right here. And that looks like his weak part of his fight game, if you can call that a weak part. So with Klein being so damn good on the feet and on the ground, I think he can mix this up enough, confuse Trizano throughout the fight. And I think he gets this fight actually done midway through, probably round 2 to 3. So I think he finishes the fight, honestly. But if you want to bet here, just flip a coin on how he finishes this fight, whether that be knockout or submission. But I do think he gets it done here. I also like the over in this fight as well, just because these two guys are pretty well matched, but Klein is just that much better with that much well-roundedness in his fight game. So lock in Klein in this scenario right here. The last 2 fights of the preliminary fight card, which this is an exciting fight on its own at middleweight, another middleweight fight. It's Phil Hawes versus Kyle Dawkins. 2 previous Contender Series winners here are going at it. So I can't really be angry either way of how this fight goes. But I'm going with the one that has the loss in the UFC. Crazy to think about, right? But this loss was so fucking impressive in my opinion, which is crazy to fucking say. Kyle Dawkins is the guy I'm talking about. He took a huge step in taking a fight on short notice with Brendan Allen in his UFC debut. Brendan Allen, which if you've been watching the sport and everyone knows, besides this fight with Sean Strickland, Brendan Allen is a damn good fighter, crazy submission skills, and just all around streaming up the middleweight division. He lost this fight, but he did not get finished. He lost by decision. I know it was a unanimous decision, but he looked pretty fucking solid in that fight, landed some good punches, and he looked like he belonged in the UFC. So that's why I really like Kyle Dawkins a lot in this fight. But with Phil Hawes, he's on a 6-fight win streak and 2 of them in the UFC. Hawes is fucking dangerous on his feet and can throw hands. He can hit fucking like a Mack truck. The only thing I think is Dawkins was in there with a fucking killer first. In his first fight, that huge springboard up. And he looked like he was comfortable enough to be in there. And that speaks fucking wonders to me, in my opinion. So I think Dawkins gets it done here with how savvy he is on the ground with 8 of his 10 wins coming by submission. That's a huge deal to me. Having that type of ability on the ground to mix and match and take down a killer like Hawes is. Because if Hawes lands, he's knocking out Dawkins. But I think Dawkins gets him down to the ground, submits him relatively early in my opinion. And also, it kind of helps in my opinion when you have a brother that's ranked in the heavyweight division in Chris Dawkins. So look out for Kyle Dawkins to win this fight. I think relatively early by submission against Phil Hawes, which is a dangerous opponent himself. If Phil Hawes does land, it could be a short night for Dawkins, but I don't think that's going to happen. So locking Kyle Dawkins right here by way of submission. I like to call it the main event of the prelims because that's what feeds you into the main card and gets everybody hooked. And they picked a good fucking fight right here. Big Ben Rothwell versus Philip Lins. The veteran in the UFC, Ben Rothwell, is stepping back in the octagon, which feels like the millionth time. He's coming in after a loss to Marcin Tybura, which is a surging prospect. I know I say that a lot, but he's climbing up the rankings in the heavyweight division. This was back in October. Rothwell, even at 39 years old, is always looking for a finish, and he's looking damn good still. And I know everybody's looking for a finish in the heavyweights division, which, granted, it's going to be a lot of finishes or very boring laying on each other fights. But I do not see Ben Rothwell being that type of let's lay it on each other type fight, even though his last couple were like that. His problem is later in his career, though, like I said, it's been a lot more decisions, going on a 4-fight win streak back in 2016 before he lost to Junior Dos Santos. Took a three-year layoff after he lost to JDS. And before that 2-fight win streak he's on right now versus Stefan Struve and Ovince St. Peru, and that fight, OSP, was a very boring fight. So that is a problem with me. I think he's going to come out swinging in this situation after he lost to Tybura by a decision, I believe, and having some boring fights before that. He's trying to get his name back out there and show the UFC why he's still in this fucking fight game at 39 years old, which is fucking bonkers to me. But this guy's fighting Philip Lins, his back is against the wall, guys, and he's 0-2 in the UFC, but his 2 losses are against fucking killers, right, guys? Andre Arlovski, which we saw win recently, dude's 40 million years old at this point, but still killing it, and Tanner Boser, the Bulldozer, that guy right there, the Canadian sensation, was labeled the next big thing until he lost Arlovski as well. So Lins has had no gifts given to him in the UFC, and this is rightfully not a gift anyways either with Rothwell. But with his fight being so even and Lynn's being the younger opponent, even though by just a little bit, and Rothwell's been in there for so long, I do think Lynn's gets it done here. And this fight, I really am leaning towards that because his back against the wall. And in the heavyweights, if your back's against the wall, you're swinging for the fucking fences, and you're either going to knock someone out or you're going to be knocked out. So regardless, I think he wins this fight, or he's just going to get served up on a platter for his contract to probably not be there anymore after his next fight. But let's be positive. Let's give Felipe Lins the W against the veteran Ben Rothwell. And I'm going to say by KO. I do not think this fight's going to go to the decision because there's no reason for Lins to hold this for the judges to score because 0-3 in the UFC, Dana White doesn't play those games. It doesn't look great. I know he's lost to big guys, but why is he going to keep someone around that's 0-3 in the division and clearly not progressing? So let's give this to Lins by knockout, but let's flip a coin and say maybe this fight goes boring because Rothwell holds me and gets scared and says by decisions, double chances, go decision, KO, Lins to win, lock it in. Let's do this. Main card now, Amanda Hebos versus Angela Hill. So holy shit, Angela Hill's back. I feel like she fights all the fucking time. Amanda Hebos is no joke. She's damn good herself. Amanda Hebos has only lost 2 fights, and the last one being against Marina Rodriguez, who is in the main event of this fight night. So Angela Hill, though, has had an up and down career. Some bad losses that should not have probably been losses by split decision. Probably this most notable one coming in her last fight against Michelle Waterson, who was in the main event of this fight night. But Angela Hill and Michelle Waterson both main evented her last fight. And it was a great fight. She lost by split decision, though. And the problem with that is because Angela Hill is very okay with just wrestling around and holding each other. Earlier in the fights, she's ready to throw bombs and everything like that. But then it seems like she kind of pulls off the gas, which I've never understood because Angela Hill is a great boxer and a very, very fun person to watch. The only thing I see here, though, is Amanda Hebos is just too much for her in this scenario. Hill is a smaller opponent in this spot, and it's just a huge step up in competition. So I just can't see a way that Angela Hill gets it done. I think Hebos is the real deal, and I think she gets a nice decision win right here. So Amanda Hebos to start the main card off by decision against the always exciting Angela Hill. Amanda Hebos will, I think, that's probably my lock of the night is Amanda Hebos to beat Angela Hill. The following fight, Carlos Diego Fiera versus Gregor Gillespie. Oh my god, I'm fucking so excited for Gregor Gillespie to be back. He's back after his first loss back in 2019 to Kevin Lee, which if anybody knows, Kevin Lee's a fucking crazy man. Just got his head tattooed. One of the best in this lightweight division. So Gillespie was at one time pegged as one of the next big deals in this division. So he's kind of stepped back off that just because he hasn't fought in almost 2 years. But before his last loss, he was 6-0 in the UFC, which is impressive for the lightweight division because if you know the sport, or if you just watch it from the outside, you know the lightweight division is the most stacked division. It's the one getting talked about all the time with Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. I mean, all these guys are in this division. It's stacked to the fucking brim. But Gillespie is welcome back, and UFC's giving him no favors in this scenario. It's with Diego Fiera, who is also coming in off a crazy loss to Neil Dariush by split decision. But also before that, he was on a 6-fight win streak, just like Gillespie. He has a notable win against Anthony Pettis, which at the time when you see Anthony Pettis as a win on your column, it looked great. But now after you watch him get ragdolled in his last fight, I think he was in the PFL, you're kind of taking a step back on it a little bit. But regardless, Anthony Pettis being a former champion, it's always nice to have that name on your resume. Regardless of each guy's stats, which they're both pretty fucking even, this right here has Fight of the Night written all over it, and I'm beyond excited to see this. This is probably the most anticipated fight on this fight card, in my opinion. And even with Vieira being more active and he has some notable fights, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Gillespie gets this done, and he shows the world why he's that next big deal, why the UFC gave him that fight against Kevin Lee, why he's been out for 2 years, and show how great he is again. So, Gillespie 100% gets this done. It's going to be by decision, I think. If it's going to be a finish, it's going to be in the later rounds. But Gillespie gets this done convincingly. And that's convincingly with a capital C. Lock it in. Gregor Gillespie. Guys, Gregor Gillespie. The next fight of the night is a heavyweight fight. The last heavyweight fight on the card. Marcus Rodrigo de Lima versus Maurice Green, the Crochet Boss. Now, this right here is probably going to be a banger with two guys that will probably not let this fight go the distance. I think these are two guys that are looking to finish this fight. De Lima has had the prime up and down career in the UFC at 6-5 with alternating wins and losses since 2015. And his last loss being to Alexander Romanov, the polar bear, the guy that I fucking love, one of my favorites. He got choked out in that fight, so he's lost. So if you follow the pattern De Lima's been on his entire career, win, loss, win, loss. He lost his last fight. Let's follow the pattern. He gets the W right here against Maurice Green, which I think is not that great. I genuinely do not think he's that great at all. Maurice Green is known for his better submission skills, with 4 of his 9 fights being by that way. I just don't. I know De Lima's a little sloppy. He doesn't really have the submission skills, and definitely not on par as Green. But it's just I just think De Lima is a much better fighter, and Maurice Green's super fucking sloppy and really not that great. So if you look at Maurice Green's fight, you go back in it. He should have been on a 4-fight win streak. And his last loss came to Greg Hardy. But before that, he threw up a Hail Mary choke to win. And it blew my mind. It was against Gian Villate. He threw up a Hail Mary choke in the 3rd round, won that fight. Do I think he was going to win that fight? No, I think he was about to get beat 30-27. But a W is a W. He won by submission, and his career lived on. It's just, I don't think Green has any type of abilities to beat De Lima in this scenario unless Green can somehow lay on top of him and choke him out, which I do not see De Lima being in that scenario after he got ragdolled by Romanov. So let's lock in Rodrigo De Lima for this win. I don't think there's any other possibility the Crochet Boss gets it done because I don't think Maurice Green's great. And his nickname's Crochet Boss. So Marcus Rodrigo De Lima, by decision, he gets the W here. Now, these next 3 fights I'm super excited about. Do not understand how this is not the co-main event because these two guys just headline 2 fights. So it's little Neil on Neil action. Neil Magny versus Jeff Neal. And I love Neil on Neil. They should have made this the main event. Hashtag Neil on Neil. Shout out to my MMA fighting guys. So Neil Magny is one of the most mainstays in the weight class, and he's definitely one of my favorites. He's been fighting this UFC, which feels like forever, since 2013, so almost 10 years. Has an impressive record at 17-7. So notable wins. I'll list them off for y'all. We can keep going. Robbie Lawler, former champion. Kelvin Gastelum, former title contender. Johnny Hendricks, former title contender. Probably beat GSP. So he is someone who has figured it all out. Only being 33 and that much experience is absolutely wild to me. You see someone that's been in the UFC since 2013, you expect him to be damn near in his 40s, but he's just now touching 33, 34 and in his prime of his career. But Jeff Neal is no fucking joke. Hands of steel, Jeff Neal is looking for that KO. And he is coming in for that the entire way. Even his last loss against Stephen Thompson, which in my opinion is up once he beats Gilbert Burns for the next title shot against Usman. And I think Stephen Thompson gives Usman the biggest problems, but I'll digress off of that. Jeff Neal looked pretty fucking impressive, even though he did get destroyed in that fight, but he had some impressive abilities in that fight. He came forward the entire time, was swinging away. He did not back down from someone that is crazy as Stephen Thompson. Before that loss, though, he was on a 7-fight win streak, beating the feats of Bilal Muhammad, which is a great fighter. We saw that even though he lost to Leon Edwards by that disgusting eye poke. He beat Nico Price, which fucking crazy, and Mike Perry, which we all know we love Mike Perry here in this podcast. Just to name a few people that he's beaten. And he knocked out the last 2 names. Nico Price and Mike Perry are hard to fucking knock out. We saw Mike Perry with his nose smashed not even get knocked out. But Jeff Neal figured it out. So with this absolutely impressive stuff right here, I think Jeff Neal gets it done here and gets back on the winning horse. And I really wouldn't be surprised if this was by KO, even though Neil Magny is hard to knock out. Much more lanky man. But Jeff Neal is just a fucking horse. He's going to get this W. I think Neil Magny does look pretty solid in this. I just don't see him getting this done against someone as crazy good as Jeff Neal and someone that wants to fight and has the hunger to fight. Jeff Neal's the type of guy. He worked at Texas Roadhouse as a server while he was a top 15 fighter because he could not get a fight, could not get stuff done. So the dude fucking wants it. He's not afraid to go work side jobs to continue his passion, his career, his dream. So Jeff Neal gets it done here against Neil Magny, Neil on Neil. Wouldn't be surprised if this fight on that, even though I like Gregor Gillespie's fight. But Neil on Neil action, give it to Jeff Neal by way of knockout. Co-main event of the evening. The always exciting, the mainstay that I remember watching forever. Donald Cerrone versus Alex Morano. Originally, it's supposed to be Donald Cerrone versus Diego Sanchez. I'll touch on that here in a little bit. But Sanchez was let go by the UFC with some crazy, wild things happening in his life, which I can touch on after I'm done breaking down these fight cards. But this is Cowboy's first fight since his brawl with Nico Price back in September, which was called a draw at the time. Now it's a no contest. But his problem is he's on a 4-fight losing streak. The UFC is giving him no favors, though. The UFC loves the name. It loves building prospects off his name. His 4 straight losses are to Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, and a prime Anthony Pettis. It's fucking crazy. So he's fought the who's who, the best of the best, and has never backed down from a single one of those fights. And you can even say the Tony Ferguson fight could have been close. We don't know what would have happened in that fight because Donald Cerrone got his nose broken by a late punch by Tony Ferguson, tried to blow his nose, popped his eyeball, basically out of his head, which was absolutely disgusting. Go back and watch that right there. It's fucking crazy. But he sees Alex Morano on short notice, who is no slouch, no punk himself, even with being a little bit less known. He is 7-4 in the UFC, which is crazy because I didn't know he's been in the UFC that long, compared to the lifetime of Cerrone that's put in, though. Moreno has some good wins over Max Griffin and Kyle Noak, just the notable two, but has a notable loss against Anthony Pettis. So you look at that right there. Anthony Pettis, his last fight before he left the UFC was against Alex Morano, and they try to give Alex Morano that step up in competition. He could not contend. Now he gets the amazing kickboxer, bull rider, wakeboarder, all of that in the bag of chips. Donald Cerrone, the madman. I think he gets this done here. I think anybody that names his kid, I think he named his kid Danger. I respect the fuck out of you, bro. So Donald Cerrone gets back in the win column. I don't know how many more fights we're going to see with Donald Cerrone. So let's fucking cherish this, guys, while Donald Cowboy Cerrone is there. I think Alex Morano has a chance to be an okay fighter. He's just going to get pushed back down to the mid-card situation. I think with Donald Cerrone taking that step back from these championship fighters and fighting this mid-carder, I say mid-carder with all due respect to Alex Morano, that I think Donald Cerrone does get this W here. He is a little older. It's going to be by decision. I just don't think he has that power anymore. He's prone to knockouts. We saw Conor McGregor knock him out of the shoulder. I would love, and I'm picking this with my heart, I would love to see Donald Cerrone get back in the win column. Maybe even right off on the sunset. I don't think he's going to do that, but that'd be pretty fucking sweet if he did. So let's cherish Cowboy while he is still here. So going on to the main event, which I wish I could be saying is Dillashaw versus Sandhagen, but I'm not going to disrespect these two ladies right here. Marina Rodriguez, number 6 in the world at the strawweight division. They're bumping up weight class since it's on short notice. Michelle Waterson, 9th. Nice. So this is a very short notice fight right here. This wasn't confirmed until Tuesday, so that's why I'm recording it a day late right here. So Marina Rodriguez has been in with killers her entire career, with her only loss coming to Carlos Esparza, which was split decision. Carlos Esparza, the original OG champ of this division. So my problem with that right there is I do not believe Marina Rodriguez lost that fight. I remember watching that fight. It was on the Darren Till versus Robert Whittaker fight card, I believe. And the problem with that fight right there, it was so back and forth, but Esparza almost laid on her, and Rodriguez was doing more damage from the bottom, if I'm remembering this fight correctly. I just don't think Esparza won that. But it's probably good that Rodriguez kind of got the loss under her belt against someone with a notable name in Carlos Esparza. So while I think she won that, she has a W. But she got back on her bike beat Amanda Hebos by TKO back in January convincingly. Amanda Hebos, fucking killer. She opens up this main card. So, she's fighting the longtime vet, the karate hottie herself, Michelle Waterson. Waterson has also been in with the who's who of this division and most recently headlined her last fight, like I said earlier, against Angela Hill, who she won by split decision. Like I said, controversial, but Waterson still got the W. Gets another main card, or main event spot, rather. So, the one thing, in my opinion, as Waterson ages through her MMA career, is she's losing the ability and the killer instinct to finish fights. Since her last finish, which was Paige Van Zandt in 2016, I did not stutter, 2016, Paige Van Zandt, she has only won by decision. 2 by unanimous, 2 by split. So, not very convincing either. Also, she's lost 4 fights. 3 of those by decision, 1 by submission. So, you look at that. 7 of her last 8 fights are decision. Now, I know it's harder for people to finish people in these lower weight classes, but there's some fucking killers. You look at Rodriguez knocking out Hebos in her last fight. So that's where I'm coming in to say, hey, Rodriguez has the edge on this. While she's less experienced, she is younger. It shows that she can fucking dominate anybody she steps in the ring in. Even with the people of the tops as Carla Esparza, even if she lost that fight. She has that instinct. I do believe this one is going to be a fast-coming fight. The first 2 rounds are going to be fucking all-out pace. And we're either going to see a knockout in that first or second round, or we're just going to go all the way to decision because these girls are going to tire out pretty fucking quick. And you may see one sneak out in the 5th round, but I just don't see that happening. So, let's lock in. I know I keep saying lock it in, but we're going to lock it in. A pretty convincing win for Marina Rodriguez. She gets back on that bike, and she headlines this right here. Number 6, she bumps up probably in the top 4 at this point. And she has a stake to be one of the next title contenders in this weight class. So, Marina Rodriguez wins this fight. Let's fingers crossed that she had good travels, got in the States easy, trained well. But I just don't think she's going to have a problem right here with Michelle Waterson. So, Marina Rodriguez wins this fight. So I'm going to go back through. I'm going to read off everybody I picked in this scenario just so it's easier for everybody to listen since I know I jump around a lot. So first fight of the night, I picked Carlston Harris. Next one I go Tafon Nchukwu. Next fight, Ryan Benoit. Then Ladik Klein, Kyle Dawkins, Philip Lins, Amanda Hebos, Gregor Gillespie, Marcus Rodrigo de Lima, Jeff Neal, Donald Cerrone, and then Marina Rodriguez to finish the night off. Let's have another great night. Let's try to make this a fucking 12-0 night. Let's fingers crossed I can do that.
Final round. Fight.
So continuing on, final round MMA news. I know I said this was going to be a short podcast. Clearly I lied, guys. I'm sorry. I kind of just get off on tangents. But we're going to finish this off with some quick MMA news like we always do. The first of notable things is there's a Bellator fight this Friday. Actually, a really solid fight card. Was going to be better if Yoel Romero could have competed. Unfortunately, he's out. He did not pass medicals with an eye issue. If you go back and look at interviews in his last fight against Izzy Adesanya, he said there was something weird with his eye. And he wasn't sure how the UFC cleared him with medicals. Now we see Bellator didn't clear him. And there's something wrong with his eye. It's sad to see, and I hope he can get this fixed because even at above 40 years old, I wouldn't want to be even in this vicinity of him being angry. He would fucking kill me. So I'm upset that we didn't get to see Rumble with Johnson versus Yoel Romero, but this fight card is going to turn out to be a pretty great one. It's headlined by Juan Archuleta, the champion of the bantamweights, and he's fighting Sergio Pettis, which Sergio Pettis is natural weight class in this scenario. So that's going to be a fucking fun one. I think Juan Archuleta does get it done there, but Anthony Joshua, like I said, Anthony Johnson, not Anthony Joshua. Rumble Johnson fights his tournament debut and Bellator debut against a short up-and-coming opponent, Jose Augusto. Johnson gets it done here. I think Rumble has no issues in this scenario. Patricio's brother, fights on this fight card. We got Michael Venom Page, MVP, the always exciting fighter. Jesus Christ, I'm really excited for this guy to fight because you never know what the fuck's going to happen in that scenario. We got Rafael Carvalho versus Lorenz Larkin, a longtime UFC vet. We got Patchy Mix. This is a stacked fight card for Bellator, a sneaky fight card, especially with the UFC hodgepodging and putting this all together for Saturday's fight. So look for Bellator to make some fucking waves in this fight right here. So keep an eye on that. Great fight card. I promise that in that scenario. Some more MMA news. We see Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards postponed again. Leon Edwards can catch a fucking break. I feel so sorry for that guy. Diaz has a small injury. They're moved back to UFC 263, I believe. Even though that's only about a month late. I just wish it was going to be next week on the Oliveira Chandler fight card. But regardless, next week's pay-per-view is going to be sick. A lightweight champion. We finally get a lightweight title after Khabib is gone, even though it probably should have been Poirier as a title contender. But chasing that money. Don't blame him. So, there's an exciting fight card coming up next week with Oliveira and Chandler, Beneil Dariush, Tony Ferguson, Hermanson, Shabazian. All around great fight card. Also, like I said, I was going to touch on this. Diego Sanchez terminated from his UFC contract. Videos surfaced of Josh Fabia, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I don't even want to say his fucking name, but Josh Fabia, Diego Sanchez's coach, basically lecturing Paul Felder, all the UFC commentators. And shout out to Megan O'Leary for telling Josh Fabia basically to shut the fuck up. They're not listening to his lecture. He said he's created common sense, self-awareness. He might be the least self-aware person in the history. This dude is absolutely fucking crazy. And it sucks because Diego Sanchez has been in this game forever. He's the original Ultimate Fighter. And one of my favorite fighters growing up. He's super crazy. I just always like watching him fight. I'm going to love to see him fight Donald Cerrone, which might have been his last fight of his career. But you had this fucking idiot, Josh Fabia, talking for him. And it sucks because Diego Sanchez, I mean, the dude might have actual problems, but to see his mind get completely controlled by Josh Fabia, and y'all can look this up for yourselves too. It's fucking saddening and sickening with a guy basically taking advantage of Diego Sanchez. And like Matt Sarris told him, everybody else, no one likes the guy. Matt Sarris looked at me and said, I hope you make your money off of Diego Sanchez because you're not one of my friends. And it sucks. Now we see Stephan Bonner with this guy too. It's just these guys that are the OGs of the UFC, basically hiked up the UFC and the Ultimate Fighter, are falling in with these bad people, with Josh Fabia and his crew, the least self-aware person out there. So I hope I don't get attacked by Josh Fabia and these guys because they're fucking crazy, but that's just my take on it and what I've been hearing to and seeing online. So come on, Diego. I really hope you get out of this scenario, get your head straight, reconcile with the UFC. I would love to see you fight one more time in the UFC. I just don't see that ever happening again, especially in the scenario you're in. So sad to see Diego go, but not really sad for the guys with Josh Fabia being so fucking crazy. And shout out, like I said, Megan O'Leary putting him in his fucking place. That's my 2 cents on that scenario. But guys, that's really all the MMA news I have this week. There's not a lot of stuff going on. There was a good boxing match last week with Andy Ruiz getting dropped and then winning by unanimous decision. I think boxing is fixed in my opinion. So I try to stay away from some of these littler fights, even though Ruiz is the big name. I'll definitely be talking about when Tyson Fury and Joshua get in the ring together, or I love Canelo, which Canelo's fighting soon as well. So these types of guys, that's pretty exciting. Boxing is fun to watch. I just don't like watching some of the smaller events just because it's probably fixed. So there's too much money in it. But like I always say, guys, thank you for listening. I appreciate all the support. If you guys have any suggestions, comments, questions, want to be on this podcast, reach out to me. My Twitter and Instagram is @It'sChaseWatson. Please feel free to ask me questions anytime. So, like I said, I appreciate you guys. Let's continue making this thing grow, get better. Tell your friends, tell your families. Tell them how much money you're making off of me. So, as always, let's continue chasing knockouts.